Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Good?
Good.
How's everybody doing today? Good? Good. All right, I just want to say thank everybody for coming out. Again, thank you to the organizers for being here. Thank you to the candidates for being willing to be accountable to the public. You see, not everybody that is in the race is up here, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I just want to say I'm not a polished politician. It's not something that I've looked forward to my whole life. A young man asked me the other day, have you always dreamt of being a politician? And absolutely not. But the reality that we are living in right now is so serious. It is deadly serious. My babies, I'm raising my babies. I have a 13-year-old little girl and a 5-year-old little girl. And the things that we're dealing with today, I do not want them to have to deal with tomorrow when I'm gone. So I feel like I have no choice but to stand up and fight for what is right, what is righteous, what is justice for each and every one of us. Whether it's education, youth and young adult outreach, public safety, climate justice, housing, home ownership, small business ownership. There's so much work ahead of us. Usually a platform is 2 or 3 things, but we're dealing with so much stuff right now that is so vitally important. So what it is that we have to do is come together like we've never come together before. Our lives and our livelihoods depend on it. The lives of our babies depend on it. And the very future of our city depends on your vote this November 2nd. Whatever you do, just keep in mind, again, that your vote affects each and every one of us. And look at the babies. Look at the ones around us. They are going to have to look to the future, and we have to make the decisions today that can best form those opportunities for them. There's so much. So let me ask you a couple questions real quick. Do you want education investments? Do you want youth and young adult outreach investments? Do you want housing and home ownership investments? Do you want small business and small business ownership investments? Do you want public safety and climate justice investments? Then we must vote Mayor Perry to serve the people of Minneapolis. Thank you very much.
Starting with Mr. Perry. The first question is about public safety, and it is, what would be your approach to combat ongoing public safety issues? 3 minutes, Mr. Perry.
All right, thank you very much. Well, first of all, public safety is more than the police, as it's been said already. Public safety is all-encompassing. Safety means something different to each and every one of us, and we can go back to that being education, that being youth and young adult outreach, housing, jobs, period. The police are a part of that, and so is climate justice. All of it is part of public safety. But I'm sure the question is more targeted towards the Minneapolis Police Department. The first thing that I would like to see with the Minneapolis Police Department is a residency mandate. I feel like if you're going to protect the city, work for the city, be a public servant, you should be living within the city. That way we don't have to focus on trying to get to know the community. You'll know them. Those relationships will be built, and that brings a form of safety that nothing else can provide. We have a mandate for over 888 officers in our city. Only 80 of them, according to city data, live in the city. That's over 800 officers that are coming from other cities. They're coming to work here, they're getting their paycheck, and they're taking it back to their city, paying taxes, property taxes in their city, funding schools in their city. And that's taking money from residents of Minneapolis. Over $60 million a year alone, and that's just the police officers. That doesn't include the entire staff. That does not include the other outreach coordinators, just the officers. So that money should be back here in the city of Minneapolis so that it can benefit the residents that are here. Another thing with public safety, again, is climate justice, which there's another question about that, but air pollution affects people of color like no one else. We have some of the highest rates of asthma in the country, and a lot of that's coming from the cars. We have a plan to do hydrogen power. Hydrogen power is cleaner than electric. An electric car can go 100 miles on a single charge when a hydrogen power car can go over 300 miles on that same charge. California is already doing it. We're looking at a partnership with Toyota. They have a Toyota Mayoral that starts at 50 grand. They're offering 3 years of free fuel to residents of Minneapolis for purchasing that vehicle. Zero emissions. Not only does it produce zero emissions, it cleans the air at the same time. So this is something that we have to do if we are serious about the health and well-being of our children. This is something that we can do right now. The federal government just provided Metro Transit. We talked to them last week. They got $4 million to start doing electric buses. And again, that has no comparison to hydrogen. We have to do this. We got to do it now. Thank you very much.
Next will be Jerrell Perry. Mr. Perry, 3 minutes to respond to the question. What is the scale of funding at the city level to address climate change locally that you would like to see? And where should this money come from? And how should it be equitably distributed? Relatedly, how will you help city residents better prepare for extreme weather, long-term, and in emergencies? 3 minutes, Mr. Perry, please.
Thank you. Well, I'll start off by saying I don't personally know the scale of the cost. I don't believe any of us do. None of us have all the right answers, but what that's going to take is bringing people together, bringing community together, being willing to listen to people. Our indigenous family, they know how to do most of this. All we have to do is trust each other, rely on each other, and not just hear, but listen to each other. The scale of funding is there. The federal government, we're in a code red crisis right now. This is not just Minneapolis. This is a global thing, and again, if we come together, it's something that we can get taken care of. As far as things like recycling, I will put a deposit on the cans. My family is from Des Moines, Iowa. There's a deposit on all the cans and stuff that are bought, and people take them back instead of further polluting our environment. So that's one thing that we can do. And red, when I'm talking about code red, that's the last stop on the gauge. If you can picture a gauge, it starts at green, right? And it stops at red. Red is the door of no return. So we got to back all the way up. Green light, yellow light, red light, right? My thing with climate justice and as far as protecting people during emergencies, we have to protect renters. And to do that, I'm going to double property taxes on homeowners and cut that in half for owner-occupied units. There's no way that we should have hedge funds and people that don't live in the city simply preying on the residents of Minneapolis. That's something that we can no longer tolerate, and it's something that I'm going to stop on day one. Another thing that we can do is, like I was talking about earlier, having these conversations. My campaign talked with Metro Transit. We're looking at, they're currently doing electric buses. They just got a $4 million grant to do electrical buses. Moving to hydrogen power. And that's something that, again, I learned through community conversations, through sitting down with indigenous leaders. I don't know if anybody knows Mean Uncle Bob, but he ain't that mean. He's smart. He has wisdom. And again, if we just take the time to listen to these people, to listen to each other, there's no limit to what we can do. So we got to do that. Thank you.
My question is, we all know that we're on stolen land, right? Everyone here, raise your hand if you know we're on stolen Indian land, right? And we have native homeless. That should not be, ever. Would all of you consider land back? We are in a paradigm shift since George Floyd. Would you consider giving Powderhorn Park, Theoworth Park, or Minnehaha Park back to the natives so we can eliminate our homeless population and we can create jobs, green jobs, treatment for our homeless? Would you be willing to give land back? That's my question.
Perry, Mr. Perry, same question, 2 minutes. Would you consider giving land back to Native Americans?
I wouldn't just consider it, but I would absolutely fight for it. Absolutely. This is something that I've learned, again, through these community conversations, sitting down with indigenous leaders, learning that history, learning even about the murdered and missing indigenous women and girls, learning about the over 6,000 children that were found underground at boarding schools. And I thank God for Miss Tammy. I don't know if she's still here, but she came to make sure that we knew that there was an observance 2 minutes and 15 seconds at 2:15 today in remembrance of those lives. So absolutely land back. That starts with Fort Snelling, right there. That's where we're going to start at. And homelessness. We put all these labels on people. We don't want to keep doing labels. These are our brothers and sisters who are temporarily without shelter. Our brothers and sisters, each and every one of us, we're all family. We look a little different, we talk a little different, walk a little different, we're all family. Recognize it or not, I'm your brother and you're my brother or sister. So let's get to that point, okay? And then we can move forward. I've been there before. Me and my family have been homeless before. But thank God we were able to get a hotel room to get through that little down spell in our lives, because God is good. And as long as we rely on him, he can get us through anything, just like he can get our city through everything that we are dealing with right now. Again, coming together and just knowing where all of our help comes from. Initiating a housing first program, unconditional housing. We got a lot of shelters, but there's so many conditions. This will be unconditional with wraparound social services to help our brothers and sisters get up on their feet. Affordable housing. We got all these big towers going up. They was just talking about it. $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 a month. That's not affordable. What's affordable to you may not be affordable to me. What's affordable to me may not be affordable to you. It has to be capped at 30% of your income, and that's it. Not everybody else's income, but your income. It has to be individualized to meet each person exactly where they're at. And then create a ladder from there to go up to affordable home ownership. Once you rent for 5 years consistently, you should be eligible for a grant anywhere in this city, especially our indigenous family whose this land belongs to. We know that. We all know that. It's only selfishness that will keep us from acknowledging that and keep us from acting on that. That goes to business ownership too. Business ownership investments, affordable housing investments, affordable home ownership investments. And all of that takes land. So absolutely land back. Thank you for the question.
Bonjour, my name is Cassandra Holmes, and I'm a resident here at Little Earth of United Tribes. So Kate has touched a lot about the East Phillips Indoor Urban Farm Project, and also talked a lot about how we are in the county, this area is the most polluted in a section in Northside, polluted areas. And it is the most diverse and BIPOC community, porous community, to speak plainly. But my question is this, how many of you others know about the East Phillips Indoor Urban Farm right here at the Rift Depot site, where the city plans on adding more pollution here in our community? They're pretty much signing our death sentence. I want to know what you know about it, what you think about it, and I really want an honest answer, because Jacob Fry in the past, before he was mayor, looked me in the face and told me he supported it. And then once he got into office, never gave us the time or day again, and actually vetoed or voted against anything that we try to do. So I want to know how you guys are going to hold yourself accountable to us as a community when you guys are on platforms that we give you to tell us what you want to do for us. And then when you get in office, how are you going to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you follow through with what you guys promised to do? Thank you.
What do you know about the East Phillips Urban Farm Project? What do you think about it? And how will you be held accountable? 2 minutes, please, Mr. Perry.
Thank you. I know that the community wants an urban farm, not toxic harm. They've been holding community events over there. We've been to a few of them, and the work is already being done. Again, this comes back to not only hearing, but listening to the community and what it is that they want for their community. Not only does it affect our city, that community, it also affects me and my babies. We live 2 blocks away from the site where they're proposing to put this water facility. And again, the community is saying they want an urban farm, not toxic harm, and the money can come directly from the city. There's people in that area that are paying taxes. That money can be used to build the urban farm. The facility's already there. All it needs is to be renovated, and the things that the community's asking for be put in there. The job of the mayor is to represent the people. The job of the mayor is to have community conversations, see what the community is asking for, and put the ideas together and come up with what is best for the community, not for everybody else in the city. It affects the community, so it's the community that should be deciding what happens to that site. Urban farm, not toxic harm. Thank you. All right, thank you again, everybody, for coming out. Thank you to the organizers for being here. I just want to say, I keep hearing people say, we got to look into it, we got to look into it. We're living this. It's our reality. And like I said, the answers are there if we just listen to people instead of just hearing them. Just like the death of George Floyd. Now all of a sudden, everybody knows that police brutality exists. I'm a black man, 33 years old. I've known this for 33 years, okay? I've been beaten by the police. I've been racially profiled, pulled over. There are stories out here, and if we sit down and listen to each other, we can get through this. We can help somebody else from going through different things, and we can bring our communities together and move our city to where it needs to go. So let me ask you again, do you want education investments? Yeah. Do you want youth and young adult outreach investments? Yeah. Do you want housing and home ownership investments? Yeah. Do you want business and ownership investments? Yeah. You want public safety and climate justice investments? Yeah. Then we must vote Mayor Perry to serve the people of Minneapolis. Our lives and our livelihoods depend on it. The lives of our children depend on it. And the very future of our city depends on your vote this November 2nd. We must vote Mayor Perry to serve the people of Minneapolis. Perry for the people!